Welcome all sports fans, YouTubers, Facebookers, all social media across the nation. Uneducated Network on YouTube presents Uneducated Sports Talk. And I'm Carlos Clayton. This is Brian Wilkinson. This is our college casual football talk. Yes, 4 teams remain in the playoffs. Only 2 survive. We will talk about that in just a second. Before we get started, quick second shout out to my brother Darius Clayton for his Struggle and Overcome t-shirts. Want to know more about how you can get that? Just hit me down below in the comment section. So with that being said, Brian, what's poppin', man?
Man, this is our second to last episode of this college football season in the College Football Casual Talk 2017 is coming to a close. Today we're going to talk exclusively about January 1st and what a day it was. And we'll start with the morning cap, the 11 o'clock game, LSU and Notre Dame in the Citrus Bowl out in Florida. Actually, a fairly decent game for what it ended up being. Both teams, first of all, it rained a lot.
It did.
The whole game, which had almost no effect on the game except for in the special teams department, where neither team could do anything positive on special teams at all. Nobody. I think there was about 3 muff punts, one muff kickoff, and the wind was blowing so hard that the kickoffs couldn't get past the 10-yard line. So it was just, man, it was a bad day for special teams.
It was.
It was ugly, sloppy, old school, hard fought. Kind of what you would have expected from these two teams coming in.
Yeah, regardless of the weather, we thought we were going to get something like that. 21-17, yeah, that's the score I would have kind of put in there.
Wouldn't you know it, Notre Dame
went
and won it on I think it was a 54-yard, one-handed two-defender tackle breaking,
moving,
just heartbreaking touchdown.
Heartbreaking, right? Hey, the way LSU season's been going, we know what can you expect from them, right? Just the way the season has been going up and down all year. Notre Dame, who looked lost over the last maybe 6-7 games, 6 weeks of the season, pretty much, they did just enough to stay relevant for next year again.
Yeah.
You win a bowl game and everything feels fresh for that next year coming into it. You lose that bowl game, LSU is going through problems now, but Notre Dame, who wins the bowl game, the future's brighter now for them, you know.
Yeah. There were rumors coming in for LSU about Matt Canada, this year's offensive coordinator, quite possibly jetting, not having a gel with the head coach Orgeron up there. So that, I don't know. People are questioning whether that kind of played into the play calling for this game at all.
I
didn't feel like it.
I didn't feel like it. I don't think he would have just throw some BS.
I think it was the weather more.
Yeah. The weather played a big factor in this game. But with these two teams, you didn't really think that the weather would be that critical to their play calling, you know, because you know both teams are going to ground and pound pretty much. Adams on one side and Geis on the other side, so you know they're going to run the ball a lot. So I didn't think it played that big of a factor. And LSU, just face it, and Notre Dame, they're a run-oriented team. They can pass as stretches, but they're run-oriented.
Both run offenses had good showings in the ball game, and Notre Dame simply made one more play.
They sure did. That's the way it could.
That being said, we will slide on down to the afternoon slot. University of Michigan taking on South Carolina in the Outback Bowl.
It
was. And Michigan came out firing. Looked like they were going to do something.
I was like, well, hey, this Big Ten, they just been dominating, right? The whole entire, now Big Ten as a whole is probably the best conference, top to bottom. I would kind of think.
Came into this game 7-0 in this bowl season.
And you're like, okay, Michigan, it's South Carolina. South Carolina doesn't play. They got decent defense, but their offense isn't anything to, you thought Michigan would come in, and especially when they were 19-3 at one point.
They went up 19.
Something like that. Something like that, 19-3. And you thought, okay, it's over with. South Carolina doesn't have the offense to come back. And Michigan's defense, this Vontae's defense that we've been hearing about and knowing about, they kind of slipped in the mid-third to the fourth quarter.
Michigan absolutely imploded in this one. To go with the defensive, the defense had problems because the offense imploded. On 3 of their final 4 drives, Michigan turned the football over and gave South Carolina the ball within their own 50-yard line. And the only other time they had the ball, they went 3 and out. So there wasn't much more the defense could have done to help them out in that situation.
Another what-if scenario for Michigan. Like, what if they had decent offense? What if their quarterback never got hurt at the beginning of the year? This team could have been totally different, but now they finished 8-5, I believe.
I think so.
And it was that's a bad way after starting off. I believe 5-0, maybe 6-0.
I think they got to 6-0.
6-0, maybe, yeah.
Possibly.
So just in that way, it's kind of heartbreaking with Michigan. There's been rumors about Harbaugh and what he's going to do with him. He's going to stay for another year, but I mean, hey, another season like this, he might be back to the NFL, and I don't blame him on that one.
It's rocky. That one ended up 19-26 in favor of South Carolina,
which basically makes the Big Ten 7-1, and then
7.
At that time, South Carolina got a good win for the SEC at that time. But speaking of the SEC,
let's get started. Let's get started with the big 3 games.
Here we go.
We'll start off with the Peach Bowl, University of Central Florida Knights versus the Auburn Tigers. You watched most of this game.
I did, man, and I loved it. One, UCF started off shaky, very shaky from the offensive standpoint, but their defense, who we thought that was going to be the Achilles heel for them, their defense. Shout out to Shaquem Griffin. That dude, I mean, I know they made so much talk because of his hand and all that, and so he's going to talk. But he came out and he freaking balled out. He was everywhere. He plays the linebacker / strong safety / free safety / DN. I don't know. He does it all for that team, and it's remarkable with one hand. He does a better job with one hand than guys do with 2 hands. You know what I'm saying? So he was the energy spark for that defense, knowing that Frost is leaving. They wanted to. I didn't know what team was going to show up. Either the team that was going to our coach is leaving us, how dare us, or if Frost, what I think he did, got his guys rallied up.
Let's show out.
Let's show up and show out because we have a chance to make noise. And they did that. They started off very early defensive-wise. And you thought, okay, well, the line, offense and defense, is going to be controlled by Auburn. And it did not happen. You saw a glimpse of it in the third quarter from Auburn when they had to. But going into halftime, UCF was up, I believe, 17-3. Something like that. It was a good game. UCF had a great game plan on defense. They basically made Auburn throw the ball. You're going to throw the ball. We stack 8-9 in the box. We're going to shut down the running back, and you're going to throw the ball on us. And they played just enough defense, especially in their first 2 quarters, to set a tone. Auburn showed their dominance in the third quarter, which was cool. I like that about them. Even at one point taking the lead, but for some reason, UCF had that magic. Their quarterback, who was god-awful in the first quarter, I mean, as in 3 for 17, god-awful, comes back and basically vice versa. The first half, he had a remarkable second half, over 20 yards passing in the second half, and he took over. The defense took over, and even when the game was kind of still shaky, you kind of had a feeling this was UCF's time to win this game. And we haven't said it about a lot of Power 5 teams, outside Power 5 teams, in the last couple, 4 or 5 years, outside of maybe Utah back in the day when they beat Alabama. But before that, Boise State.
Probably the last.
Yeah, Boise State was the last hoorah Power 5 outside Power 5 team, and now UCF has come in and with a great victory, 34-27 over an Auburn team. Now here's the whole scenario. So they go into the Peach Bowl and they're undefeated, 12-0. We all know that. They win. They're 13-0 against an Auburn team who has beaten Alabama and Georgia.
2 of the 4 contenders.
2 of the 4 contenders. Yeah. So you're like, everyone's saying, does UCF deserve the national championship consideration? I want to know your thoughts about that.
It's an interesting dilemma. Do I think they should not have been ranked below the top 10? Absolutely. I think they should have been inside the top 10.
I don't know why they were 12. I was like, why are they 12?
12-0, and the way they did it, they beat. Granted, the teams that were of consequence that they beat were not all of that.
Right.
They did beat a ranked Memphis squad who's also a group of 5.
They beat them twice.
So ranked Memphis squad that's also a group of 5, that deserves a little bit more consideration, I think, considering not only what Memphis did this season, but what Memphis did last season. That the reason they had that ranking was because of they just had a showed-out year last year.
Right.
And they came in and did the same thing again this year and got ranked again as well, and they beat them. Their other marquee win was against a Maryland squad that was middling, kind of in the pack. But it was a good, solid win.
Very good, solid win.
So they should have been in the top. They should have been in the top 10.
Yeah, I'm not going national championship just because of their resume. And will they beat Bama, Clemson, Georgia, Oklahoma? I don't really think so. They may be just because, but I think Auburn, them not making it to the Final Four, kind of play the fact that they kind of didn't play to their standards in the first half. Now they did come out and play like Auburn in the second half, and both teams were clicking. So that made the excuses was, well, Auburn is still playing at a high level, and UCF still beat them. So that's what it comes in. If UCF dominates the whole entire game, and people's like, oh, Auburn just sat back and they didn't really care. But Auburn came out, especially in that second half, and played, and UCF still beat them after being down by a touchdown late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter. So that says a lot about UCF. But championship-wise, you got to have a better resume. We all talk about the resumes. You didn't really play anyone besides Memphis for those two games. But, I mean, it brings discussion about the playoffs, making it bigger now. One, like you said, how dare them they put UCF number 12 undefeated, and Miami and, well, Wisconsin's okay, but those guys are ahead of UCF. I don't like that part too.
Wisconsin was only one loss. They went undefeated until the championship.
Right, yeah.
Wisconsin deserved it.
Yeah, but like Miami like, I think UCF can beat Miami. I think UCF beats Miami handily.
You can mill around in there, but if we had a longer playoff, UCF definitely should have.
They would.
If we had a longer playoff, we had an 8-10 team playoff.
They'll be the last team in just because what they are and their record. They will be in regardless.
And it would have been a great show for a group of 5. They probably would have made it to a second level of a playoff.
You never know. So I do like the fact that they won the game. So it shows you right there. Maybe we need to expand that playoffs. It's not going to happen next year, but I can almost guarantee the year after that they're going to expand, no doubt about that. So
last point, real quick. UCF has decided to raise a national championship banner.
They did
for 2017 for this team. How do you feel about that?
I like it. You're a group of 5. So what? You're outside a group of 5. So what?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as your fan base, recruiting wise, that helps big time too. People are like, okay, they're not the champions, but boy, they sure went 13-0 and beat an Auburn team that's pretty damn good.
And they were the only undefeated team left.
Right.
At the end of the year.
Only undefeated team. So the AD comes out and said, national champs. And he said, I got a better idea. We're going to put a banner up there for sure, let them know. I like that. You get better recruitments. You get guys who want to play for UCF. Frost is gone, but, I mean, the guy coming in still sees, can bring that talent.
He's going to get a little bit.
So get some good recruits. I mean, it's still the state of Florida.
Yeah.
You're going to get some players regardless. So shout out to UCF. Let us know how you guys feel about UCF. Are they national champion worthy, or it's just, chill out with that. But let's go on to the big boys now, man. First off, we had our Rose Bowl, which is probably the game of the century that went down with a Georgia squad versus Oklahoma. And, man, this was a shootout from the coin flip, pretty much. It was that damn good when it comes down to scoring-wise. Oklahoma eventually loses 54-48, but let's get down to it and see what happened. Because Oklahoma starting off, you couldn't tell that they were the underdogs because Baker Mayfield and company, it was Big 12 versus SEC, that Big 12 offense, SEC defense, and you thought what we were going to see at first. But we saw a little bit of both. We saw a good SEC defense in the second half, and we saw a great Big 12 offense in the first half with Baker Mayfield and company going down and putting up a fat 31 points in the first half. So let's just talk about that first half for a second and talk about Baker Mayfield and company and the Georgia's defense. What was going on? What was Georgia not getting at first?
I think it looked to me more just like a scheme than anything. Right. Because Lincoln Riley's scheme is not something that you see in the SEC. Right. Even from the teams that kind of there's no true spread. There is no true spread offense in the SEC.
Right.
These days. There used to be, they're not there anymore.
Texas A&M is probably the closest you can get.
Yeah, so 5 wide, that type of thing, dealing with it on the field. It, just kind of trying to get used to having to guard that, having to have more, because Georgia's a squad that likes to have 3 linebackers on the field. Mm-hmm. And when you're playing 5 wide receiver sets, you don't necessarily want, 3 linebackers out on the field. So having to play with extra DBs on the field, guys that probably don't get a lot of playing time during the regular season. So trying to just catch up to pace with that type of thing is what that first half looked like to me. Yeah. Because that's something that Baker Mayfield is going to be able to take advantage of, which he did. And you saw very well what he is capable of doing whenever he is capable of actually reading the defense.
Oklahoma, I'm not going to say surprised me, but they sure fooled me. They said, we belong in this playoff, and they did. They came out smoking hot. It's like they couldn't even be touched. Like, let's give it up for a bad kick will change the game. And people do recognize the last kickoff before the half ended, the kicker kicks it out of bounds.
Yeah.
The little pooch kick that went straight to the right, it gives Georgia an extra 3 points right before half. And those little things right there can change a game. And that momentum. You got 3 points in, you're like, all right, guys, we're only down by, 17.
Yeah.
I think something like that, or no, 14. It made it 31-17. So we're only down by 2 scores. This onslaught has been going on, and we're only down 2 scores. Okay, so we're still in it. That right there kind of changed the complexity of the game. In the second half, Georgia's defense came out. We saw 4 straight possessions of 3-and-outs, maybe from Baker Mayfield. That. And let's not forget about Michelle and Chubbs. They were running roughshod. But my problem was Georgia kept wanting to pass the ball when they were getting 7 yards a carry every time. I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or if it ain't fixed, don't break it, or whatever. Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, though, man. They couldn't stop them to run.
No.
And I think they kind of just outsmarted. Let's hit with play action. Let's go play action. Let's go play action now. No! Run the ball. You're having success. And they got back to that in the second half. They were eating up that time. And then eventually, 4, 5, 6 straight runs, you can give them the play action now. That's what's going on with them. And then, of course, Oklahoma gets the turnover to score. It was a great game. Yeah. So let's talk about overtime. They're going to overtime. Thanks to Chubbs' running in. They bring them to overtime. So here's my thing. The big controversy is 4th and 1 for Oklahoma. Being down 44, was it 44, 41? Something like that. In the first overtime, I forgot what it was. Anyways, Georgia gets the ball first, score a field goal, and then here comes Oklahoma, and it's 4th and 1, and they decide to go for the field goal instead of trying to go for it for the win. How do you feel about that?
It's one of those things that you want to do what you do best in that type of situation. The thing that makes this everybody's like, oh, it's 4th and 1. You just line up and get the 1 yard. The thing that makes this dangerous in this situation and an all-nothing type of thing like that is that Oklahoma has no run game.
Right.
This season, this is one of the first seasons in recent memory Oklahoma does have a pretty nice line of running backs that have come out.
Anderson played a hell of a game, especially in that first half.
But coming towards the end there, they just...
Yeah, it was kind of shaky.
They were going nowhere.
Let's just keep staying in the game.
Yeah, Georgia's defense has bucked up, and that 1 yard,
Yeah.
So then you're kind of talking about, well, do we spread it out and try to run some spacing routes?
I thought if they went spread it out, they had to go with the basically maybe option play or something option-wise.
But, then again, you look at that in the way that Georgia's corners were playing in that second half, too.
I thought it was smart. This is for all the marbles.
Yeah.
Keep the field goal and survive.
Stay safe.
Survive. Everyone was making a big deal like they should have went for it, go for the win. Like, if you don't get it, and then you're the same guy saying, why did you go for it?
Yeah.
No. I'm like,
no,
keep the field goal. And they did it. What messed them up is the block field goal they had then.
Yeah.
And that just happens. A guy, it tips in.
Gets a tip.
And then Sonny Michel runs it in. Georgia is your Rose Bowl champions. They're the first one to be crowned to go to the national championship. So they're going to Atlanta. Who will face them? Let's talk about that right now. Alabama versus Clemson. This is the 2 heavyweights. In my opinion, it's probably the 2 best teams in the playoffs. But, boy, we saw what happens when you give Nick Saban a long time to prepare for a team. And we saw an Alabama team that looks like Alabama of old beat the Clemson Tigers 24-6 in a game where it wasn't fun to watch. If you're a Clemson fan, if you're a Bama fan, you do these kind of games, just stump on them and it just make them feel desperate, man. So,
well, let's not forget this was a game for the first half.
Right, it was. It definitely was.
And half of the third quarter. Now, for the first half and the half of the third quarter, Alabama had obviously come out on top.
Right.
It wasn't, there was no
10-6. It was 10-3, was it? Yeah, 10-3. 10-3 in the halftime. It's Alabama's pace. I got one more point before we talk before a second, but it's 10-3, and then the quarterback Hurts fumbles the ball. Clemson pounces on it. Momentum is rolling. They get a field goal out of that. It's 10-6. I think Bama goes 3 and out, maybe, I believe. punts the ball Clemson had, and they're driving. And it tells you that the little things that happen when he fumbles that ball and they're driving on like their own about 38 yards. I know Bama's 38, so they could get a field goal, could get points out of this.
Yeah.
The fumble that ends up into the big defensive lineman, and from then on, that was all over. She wrote. Clemson before that was having problems. After that, once Bama got a 2-score lead, I mean I'm talking 10 points. They get a 2-score lead on you, forget about it. You know, they're going to run rough shop, and that is exactly what happened. It's not that much to be excited about. This is a clinic of Alabama offense and defense. Do just enough offense to, run it down your throats and keep time possession. And defense, they suffocated Kelly Bryant the whole entire game. Man, it was tough. I just want to know how you felt about the game.
It was pretty much a snoozer. It was a snoozer. I mean, what you saw was Nick Saban's defensive scheme. Mm-hmm. He got his defense back on track. They dominated the 2 inside A gaps for the entire game. Clemson couldn't run a ball anywhere, and that was kind of the big point with this Clemson team from last year. Deshaun Watson's team was that this team was much more of a running squad. Yes, as opposed to last year. So
the game plan is running.
Kelly Bryant not being able to have that running game to lean on. And they made, the same thing that you tell everybody when you try to play Alabama, make them beat you through the air. Well, they made Clemson try to beat them through the air, and Kelly Bryant looked very mortal.
Yeah, exactly. Kelly Bryant, it was shocking. He only had one game of 300-plus yards passing the whole entire season. Yeah. I didn't know that. He is more into the running aspect because, let's face it, my next point is, for the 11 teams, minus the Saints, because you don't need a quarterback, the 11 teams last year that passed with Deshaun Watson, he's the reason why those last 2 years they made it. Because, one, he can run the ball when he wants to, pretty much, but he has a throwing mentality. He has it, even though they're not spread out, you have that quarterback that can throw on a run. You have the quarterback that can evade pressure and throw on a run accurately. So Deshaun Watson compared to Kelly Bryant, yes, Kelly Bryant is just still a freshman, not a true freshman, but he's a freshman. So it's his first year. But Deshaun Watson made that team magical because his ability to extend plays. My point is, those 11 teams, minus the Saints, that passed up on Deshaun Watson in the draft, you guys are freaking crazy. That showed you why Deshaun should have been the number 1 pick in the draft last year because of the things he could do, especially against that Alabama defense. He can not only spread the ball out himself, he can run it and pass it with accuracy in and out the pocket. Kelly Bryant couldn't do that in this game. Kelly Bryant is more part of the run game. Yeah. And you can't play run game against Alabama. You cannot. You can't. If Renfro, who's basically a slot receiver, if he's your best chance, if you're Alabama breaker, it's not about to happen if you can't get the ball in those. He gets the ball in certain situations. 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. Not 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14, where they found themselves all game. All game. It doesn't happen.
Also, I want to make a nice shout out to the Cleveland Browns because they passed on Deshaun Watson not once but twice.
they did.
They traded 2 picks.
You're right.
They traded 2 picks.
I don't know. Look, they got a first round, the first overall, and the 4th overall this year. So hopefully they can pick some quarterback. Good God. But with that being said, Alabama completely destroyed Clemson. It was more psychological too. And at the end, when Clemson was driving, just trying to get a regular score. Bama wasn't having that. I can see Nick Saban was like, "Do not let those guys score. I don't care. And that is what happened. 24-6. It was
absolutely
tough to watch because that Bama's offense wasn't that great. So of course they got special team. Defensive help as well. The pick 6, pretty much, and then the short field. That's all they need. Yep. And they're going to make it a snoozer, and they can care less. They're all about W's out there, and that is what they got.
That's their formula.
Here we go. Georgia versus Alabama. 2 SEC teams. Before we let go, I want to know how you feel about the playoff format and how did we get 2 SEC teams in the end. Do you like it?
I'm impartial. I don't care.
Right. Okay.
We got a playoff. I wanted a playoff. I was for a playoff.
Right.
So I don't care who, it can be 2 SEC, 2 Big Ten, 2, I don't care. If it's the 2 best teams that played it out at the end of the season, that's all that matters. One side note, though, this is the second time that we've ever had 2 teams from the same conference in a national championship in the national championship era where there was actually a national championship game.
Right.
Both times it was 2 SEC squads.
Alabama, LSU.
And I think that is what is driving people more than anything else because the SEC in the for the whole season, everyone was talking about how good the Big Ten was,
Right,
and how good
right.
All these other conferences were, and how much they had surpassed, caught up to / surpassed the SEC. And to everybody's credit, the Big Ten was the best conference in the bowl season this year, 7-1. The SEC was super middling.
Yeah, but they're top heavy. SEC is top heavy.
But yeah, like you said, we've got the two best teams in the land.
Exactly.
Come from the SEC.
We had a playoff. So if Oklahoma beats Georgia and then if Clemson beats Alabama, it's like, oh, SEC got beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then the SEC wins, and everyone's making a big, like, why are there two SEC teams in? Well, they beat Clemson and beat Oklahoma to get there. So, I mean, be happy about that. If it was just LSU, Alabama back in, what was it, 11, I believe? Yeah, then you could have some kind of controversy. But no, there's a playoff to get to that point. So,
Also,
win the games.
Another memo to the fans, if everybody, whines enough, if we increase the number of teams that are in, that, proportionally decreases the chances that you have two teams from the same conference getting into the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just more competition.
More competition for sure, man.
So we need more teams. We need more teams.
Who you got, man? Georgia or Alabama?
Who we got?
Before we roll out of here, who you got?
Man.
It's going to be a good game.
It's going to be
It's going to be a very good game.
It's going to be an interesting game. Funny enough, I can't wait to watch the Lions play this game.
Okay.
Because Georgia's defensive line is built sort of really good, like that Clemson defensive line where they can spread out and they got those linebackers that can, stay out of the wash and make those big time plays. And Alabama's offensive line has not been Alabama's offensive line. And they weren't even, and to the defense's credit again, Alabama's offensive line was not that good.
No, you're right.
In the Sugar Bowl.
You're right.
They weren't. There's just Clemson couldn't stop tripping over their own feet. So I want to watch that play out.
Okay.
And then on the flip side, with this running game that Georgia has, and that defensive line that controlled Clemson, I can't wait to watch Alabama's defensive line play Georgia's offensive line.
Yep.
That's going to be something to watch.
I'm going with Alabama. I'm going with Bama. Slightly. I think it'll be a very close game. But I think somehow special teams, defensively wise, Bama's going to make us a defensive play or a special team play to actually win the game, in my opinion, or to get momentum in there. I think you just can't beat Bama at their own game. And I'm curious to see if Georgia's going to actually kind of spread them out a little bit from time to time, if the running game is not going, and see if they can spread it out and get the pass game. But I got to see to believe it. I think Bama's just the best team outside of Clemson now with them tripping over their feet. I got Bama in this game.
I'm going to take Georgia by 3.
All right.
And I'm going to take Georgia by 3 because they can throw the ball.
There we go.
That's it. They can throw the football.
Hey, it's going to be magnificent. We'll be back next week, guys. We're going to break down everything Bama versus Georgia. We're going to have all talk about it. We're going to break the whole entire game now. So please be ready for that. Team B-Dub, he got Georgia. I'm Team Los. I got Bama. So we'll see you guys next week, man. And anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I think we're good to go, bro.
Hey, man, we're good to go, man. See you guys next week, man. For Brian B.W. Wilkinson, I'm your host, Carlos Clayton. This is Uneducated Network, presented by Uneducated Sports Talk, presented by Uneducated Network. So with that being said, guys, stay smart, stay uneducated. Peace.